Snakes, lizards, turtles, tortoises, and all other reptiles are misunderstood by most people, but these 15 myths I can't even believe are floating around. True to form, 15 myths busted in 15 minutes. Let's just get started. Starting off with number 15, all lizards have legs. Well, that's certainly true with most species of lizards. Have you ever seen one like this? This is a legless lizard. And in fact, there is over 200 different species of legless lizards, sometimes called European legless lizards, the ones from Europe, sometimes called glass lizards. But either way, what makes them a lizard is although they look snake-like, look at their head. They look like a lizard. Their eyes move, they have external ears, and they chomp their food, and some of them are even omnivorous. They don't swallow their food whole, and not all of them are totally carnivores, just like all snakes. Number 14, turtles and tortoises can't feel their shells, so you can carve your name in them, or some people even drill hooks in them so that they can have a leash attached to them. Don't do this. Turtles are not in their shells. Turtles are their shells, and all tortoises are turtles, by the way, so they can feel their shell. Their nervous system goes all the way to their shell. It'd be like someone saying, oh, go ahead and put a screw in that guy's fingernail. He can't feel it. You'll feel it, I promise. And so can tortoises. Number 13, toads give you warts. This is not true. I don't know where this came from. It's also true that if you kiss a toad, it doesn't make you a prince or turn into a prince or make you a princess. It does make you a weird person though, if you kiss your frog in public. Toads sometimes look like they have warts, and they do have glands on the top of them, a lot of species do anyway, called parotoid glands that produce a poison, so don't let your cat or dog try to kiss a toad. Number 12, reptiles grow to the size of their enclosure. No, they do not. You cannot put this guy in a 10-gallon enclosure and hope that he doesn't get big, and you can't put my man Doug here in a 50-gallon enclosure and hope that he stays small. In fact, what's gonna happen, if that was true actually, I'd put Doug in this 2,700-gallon enclosure and then he'd turn into the size of Godzilla and float around and breathe fire on everything. If you put a Burmese python in a 20-gallon enclosure, it's still gonna grow to the size of a regular Burmese python. And if you put a leopard gecko in a barn, it's not gonna grow to the size of a cow. Sorry, that's not how it works. Number 11, snakes will chase you. Snakes will not chase you. Everyone has that, oh, my cousin's brother's aunt's dog's nephew got chased by a copperhead. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. I promise you, he didn't. And no matter how many times you leave it in the comments section, it still never happened. If you see a black rat snake moving your direction, stand still and it will literally crawl across your boots to get away from you. The only exception maybe is if you're coming upon a king cobra nest, because they actually do protect their nest and they might chase you away from the nest. But besides that, I promise you that copperhead, which probably wasn't even a copperhead, didn't chase you, and guys like Jimmy here, the spotted python, definitely won't either. Believing bogus myths isn't good for the hobby, it isn't good for you, but you know what's not bad for you? Today's sponsor, Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device. No vapor, no smoke, air in, air out. That's it. But the flavors of the cores inside are to die for. The one that I've been really loving right now is the cinnamon hearts. Unbelievable flavor. Black licorice, spearmint, there's so many flavors now and I love them, and whoever put them together understands not too much, not too little, just right. Plus, it's an ergonomic design. I love it. It's beautiful, by the way, well balanced. You manipulate the airflow on the back. It also clicks and feels like a fidget device. I love this thing. No nicotine, no hurtful chemicals, it's not addictive, and there's no batteries to run out. Plus, Fume continuously invests in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products. Fume is backed by real doctors in the US. And Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code Wickens to get a free topper. It's the perfect accessory to your Fume device. Put onto the mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. It's chewable for those who love to fidget, and it's reusable. Head to tryfume.com, that's tryfum.com, and use my code Wickens or scan this QR code. And get a free Fume topper when you order the Journey Pack today. Number 10, reptiles can't see red light. Well, obviously, if you put a red light on your snake and you were, the 2010s, we all thought, and at that point we thought we knew that this was the case. But in fact, it turns out there's a bunch of research and most reptiles can in fact see red light. So if you want to put red light on your leopard gecko or your spotted python, your ball python, whatever, so that you can see them at night, you can while you're viewing them, but I wouldn't leave it on all night long because they will see it, it will disrupt them, and it doesn't offer a photocycle like what you're going for. And in fact, some reptiles actually see more of a color spectrum than you or I can. Number 9, captivity is cruel and you should let all your reptiles go. Just go in the woods behind your house and let all your reptiles go. Don't do that. I promise you, all of them will die. Unless you live in Georgia and you have a wild corn snake that you kept for a year, maybe that one will live, but I promise you, if I went out and I let Jimmy go in the wild, he would be dead very quickly. If not quickly by a predator, a hawk who found him. He's not used to that type of predation. Even the types of things in the wild that they're not used to in terms of their immune system, when winter comes, they're going to die. And trust me, I understand that in Florida, sometimes if you let some stuff go, they'd live, but then other things wouldn't live. Look at all the issues, because you don't ever want to let something go in the wild. It's just irresponsible. They're gonna upset the ecosystem. It's not something that you want to do. Not only that, but it's actually kind of club med for these animals in captivity. We're giving them an environment where it always rains on time, the water bowl is always full, there's no droughts, there's no famines, the food just shows up, and there's no predation. Their life in captivity is a heck of a lot better than it would be in the wild. Oh yeah, no parasites either. Like, go to the wild. I've been all over the world. I promise you, all of those animals have parasites. They look terrible. These animals are in a better spot. Number 8, chameleons can change their color to match their environment. Well, no, they can change their shape and their color a little bit in that they get lighter or darker. But if you see, say, a carpet chameleon that has hues of purple and orange, it can't just go ahead and turn blue. If you see a veiled chameleon, like Pedro here, who is green and now looks like almost brown or dark black, they can change the hue. They change themselves based on the mood. You bring them outside, they'll darken up to catch more of the sun's rays, get more of that good UVB. If some species are gravid, they'll actually change the hues of their skin, but they can't actually change like we saw in that sunglass ad from forever ago. That doesn't really work. It's not how it goes. Number 7, turtles give you salmonella. Well, they could, but so could my bearded dragon. So could your child. So could your golden retriever. You're more likely to get salmonella from a dog licking you than you are from having a turtle in your hands. And of course, always wash your hands after you pick up any animal. This is a given. It doesn't matter if it's a dog, if it's your friend's kid, it doesn't matter. Always wash your hands before you handle an animal. Yes, I refer to a kid as an animal. If you've got kids, you understand. It's like, come on. Do I have to put a disclaimer that I'm joking? Like, there are Karens out there. Number 6, if your snake doesn't eat, it's sizing you up to eat you. Okay, well, first of all, no. Most snakes on Earth can't eat you. They couldn't eat you if they wanted to. There's really like 2 or 3 species of snake that would be big enough to eat a full-size human. And of those, that really almost never happens. Unless you're in the wilds of Indonesia and you're a very small person and you find a retic in the wild that's very hungry, you're not getting eaten by a snake. Your ball python isn't sizing you up. And these animals don't do that anyway. They don't size up their prey. They don't go up to a goat, hey, Mr. Goat, am I big enough to They don't do that. What they do is they smell prey. They see a heat signature if they have heat pits. Most pythons and boa species do. Bam! They grab it, and then if it's too big, well, they probably kill the animal and slither away from it. I promise you, no snake is sizing you up, and snakes do not size their food up to see if they're big enough to eat them. That just never happens. Number 5, reptiles will die if they don't have heat for a few hours. No, not true. Some animals, like the redfoot tortoise that you see me handling here, will be fine for almost 0 degrees. Like, they can almost go to Celsius, by the way, not Fahrenheit. They can go into the single digits for small amounts of time, Celsius, and they can go a little bit over 100 degrees for short periods of time too. Some animals like rubber boas can have no problem at all getting very low, and some animals like Jackson's chameleons actually need there to be no heat at night in order to sleep properly. So no, you're not gonna kill your animal if you take him out of the enclosure for 2 or 3 hours, you go on a road trip, you go to the vet, you don't need to bring supplemental heating, unless it's winter of course. Don't let your animal get too cold, especially if it's not one of those species that enjoys getting cold sometimes. Number 4, snakes are slimy. Sometimes I even hear that lizards are slimy. This guy is not slimy, and neither are the snakes. But amphibians, you could say, are. And of course, they're not reptiles, they're amphibians, but they have like a slime to them a little bit, where snakes, they're shiny. I mean, I have held slippery snakes because I've gone herping in Bangkok and literal sewage pulling snakes out, and those ones are slimy. But in general, snakes aren't slimy. They're scaly and smooth and they feel kind of cool. Number 3, snakes are deaf. No, snakes are not deaf. It is true that snakes do not have external ears. That is 100% true. However, they can feel vibrations and they do have ways of hearing sound in a certain way. So if you want to say that they don't hear in the way that some lizards do, or humans do, or dogs do, that is true. However, snakes aren't oblivious to all sounds. If you go up to a snake and you're making noise, you can definitely expect them to know that. Not only that, but some snakes actually produce noise in order to thwart predators such as king cobras, which actually can produce sounds through a sort of primitive vocal box, let's say. Or what about rattlesnakes who rattle their tails? So yes, snakes can hear, even if it's just a little bit and maybe not the way that we do. Number 2, slit pupils mean it's a venomous snake. Some people say poisonous, which is even funnier. Round pupils means it's harmless. No, that is not true at all. In fact, most of the time, as a general rule, round pupils indicate a diurnal species, or a species that is mostly diurnal. And of course, there's tons of exceptions here. Same thing with a slit. This is usually an animal that is a nocturnal species. So there are a lot of completely harmless snakes that have a slit pupil, and there are animals that are venomous, highly venomous, that have a round pupil. So no, this is not true. There are so many exceptions to this rule, and even the rule that actually does make sense, there's exceptions to that too. So never go by this. Number 1, snakes are just lizards without legs. Well, no. If I cut all of Diamond's legs off, he wouldn't become a snake. Promise you I'm not gonna cut your legs off, Diamond. They had a common ancestor millions of years ago, and then they split. So yes, at one time on the evolutionary chart, they were from a common ancestor, but they are not the same thing at all. There are so many things that are more closely related to a snake than most lizards. Even the legless lizards that we talked about earlier in the video, those are not more related to snakes than lizards that actually have all 4 limbs. Let me know in the comments section your favorite myth that is busted and not true. As always, thanks for hitting like and subscribe. Helps the channel so much. Videos, early discounts on merch, one-on-ones if you want to join the Patreon crew, and that's for as little as $1 a month. That's it. I do videos Mondays and Thursdays, so I'll see you in the next one.